Hey, it's Michael Kingswood again, and I was going to read you a chapter from my other book, just do some pimpage. Networkless Conspiracy, great book. But I got distracted by going off on a tangent about writing philosophy. So I decided, since that video was just getting hugely long, that I was going to split it up. So this one, I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal philosophy of writing and business, and I'll pimp my other book at another one. Hope you don't mind. The reason it got diverted out is I was starting to talk about how long this book took to write. And that got me into how writing works and and some of the pet peeves I have about writers and how annoying they are. If you go on my website, which judging by the site traffic, you haven't, I have this little About Me tab where I do this sort of this rant. Basically, long story short of it is, I'm not an artist. I don't think of myself as an artist, and frankly, a lot of times I can't stand artists because there tends to be this snooty kind of I'm better than you and look at the important thing I do thing when it comes from the whole bunch of writers and artists. And it's BS, and it's also freaking annoying. So I don't subscribe to that. Part of the snootiness that annoys me about writers is they'll talk about how hard it was to write their book and they had to pour their soul out and it's so important and it's gonna change the world and that's why I'm a writer. Baloney! You're writing fiction. Fiction doesn't change the world. Fiction is for fun. It's for entertainment. It's to escape your day and, live vicariously through another for a while. And yeah, okay, you can adjust some important points and get people to think. And there have been some pretty, moving stories out there. But they didn't change the world. And they can't. What changes the world? Economics, politics, war, and religion. Now, some pompous atheists will now come out and say, well, religion is fiction. Yeah, you're just being pedantic douchebag when you say that because you know darn well it's not the same thing. Even if you don't believe in religion, it was not written as fiction. It was written as a means of communing and learning about God and spirituality and the meaning of life, right? Not just as entertainment, right? And not intentionally false, right? So, yes, fiction can inspire to an extent and can make people think differently to an extent, sort of, but not really. But it doesn't change the world. So this whole delusion of, I'm going to change the world and my writing is so important, is shut up. God, get over yourselves. The other thing that annoys me about writers and writing is this whole notion of, it had the book, it was so hard, and I struggled so long on it, and baloney also. Alright, so this is the longest book I've written. It's 122,000 words. Comes out to 408 pages in the paperback. The story itself, can take away the front and back headers, like 390 or so. Right? It's a good sized book. Right? Want to know how long it took me to write it? If I was your typical lying, pompous writer, I'd say 2 years. Because I wrote the first words of it in the summer of 2011 and finished it in middle of 2013 and it came out in that fall. Right? So, yay, 2 years. I slaved so hard on that book. Baloney. Because here's what I do that probably not a whole lot of other writers do. Because, A, I'm kind of a geeky because I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm a certified nuclear engineer for the Navy. Let's see, but what else? Oh yeah, I'm an MBA. So I know a little bit about accounting and a little bit about business finance, and I know this little fact that you have to know how much labor went into a thing before you can determine if it was profitable or not. Right? Because labor is not free, even mine, especially mine, because it takes time that you can never get back, right? So therefore, I have this little spreadsheet, and every time I keep track of my writing to the minute. and I apply an hourly rate that I think is reasonable for my time and efforts, which I never actually pay myself, but it is an overhead, right? So must compute into the cost of goods produced. So then you can further use that along with other things like editing costs and cover art, copyright fees, and all this sort of thing to figure out the total expense of the book, and then you can figure out your break-even point, your profit margin, your return on investment, and all that other good stuff, right? So I've been tracking it. This book was, like I said, 122,000 words, 408 pages, 79.8 hours. 2 weeks of work, spread out over 2 years, right? Because I was doing other stuff. I was writing other things. I was working for the Navy, traveling, doing Navy stuff, doing all this other things, doing real life, all this other stuff, right? I don't write full time. Even full-time writers don't really write full-time, right? Because they have business-related stuff they have to do. Even if they're crappy at business, they still have to do it, right? The marketing and emailing with your publisher and your cover guy you name it, all the other business-related stuff has to get done, right? So you can't really write 8 hours a day. And then there's also the notion that if you're writing's not hard, no matter what, and a writer will tell you. It's like, oh, it's so hard to write that book. Baloney. You're just being a whiner, right? It's not hard. Well, there's a certain amount of creativity to it, and sometimes, it's a little, you're not quite sure where you're going with it, and sometimes you take a step back, go do something else, and in the middle of, I don't know, hitting the heavy bag, all of a sudden you realize, oh, I know what to do next, and then you come back and you write it, right? But so all those reasons why you can't do 8 hours a day. Well, you could, but most people don't. I haven't. I've done a couple of long days like that, but almost never. Even full-time writers don't believe him when they say it differently. So, yeah. So it's not about changing the world, because it can't. And it's not this super hard exercise, and it's not this great, grandiose, spiritual blah, 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 blah. It's for fun. It's entertainment. It's all about fun. It's all about living vicariously through somebody else, and, getting away from the daily grind of, normal life and just having fun. Just like your reason why you watch a TV show or whatever. So I have no agenda I'm trying to push. I have no cause. Causes annoy me, because it's just another way of virtue signaling, saying, look how much better I am than everybody else. I'm all about this cause. It's freaking annoying. Anyway, I'm just writing these things because some things that I think are fun, that I found fun to write, and hope you guys will think are fun to read. If you get something more out of it, right, because it's inevitable that everybody has opinions, everybody has their own personal philosophies, even characters in books. And sometimes those characters' personal philosophies are derived from the writer, but sometimes they're made up out of whole cloth. But there's always the writer who always puts something himself into it, right? So my own philosophies and some of what I think is inevitably going to come out. And, there's always, those annoying ass English lit majors are right, and that there are books tend to have themes or not. But they also take it way too far. Because, look, Shakespeare was trying to get butts and seats into his theater. Tolkien wasn't writing a metaphor about World War I or World War II. He specifically said in his author foreword, it's neither allegorical nor metaphorical. He was only writing it as a means of developing the Elvish language. And because he regretted that Britain didn't have this great mythological culture that some of the other places did. So he made one up for himself. Right? Freaking all these other hoity-toity people that we think are so grand now, they were the James Pattersons of their day, right? They were just the bestsellers, the things that people liked the most to read, and probably the nose in the air types of their day thought they were just trashy pulp and they're just not worth it. And now, 100 years later, since people still like them to read their stuff because it's entertaining, and fun, in addition to having, some deeper stuff going on there. Now we consider them profound. Guarantee they were not considered profound to begin with. All right. It's all putting on airs as a function of academia. There's nothing else better to do than sit around and navel gaze and think about, the meaning of the 3 words in that 5th sentence in the 20th paragraph of chapter 3. They actually had, I don't have a lot of respect for that sort of academic endeavor. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, we're about 10 minutes now. I'm closing it up. I'll read the first chapter of that book later on to pimp it, and we'll come back with more fun stuff later. Meantime, go to my website, say hi, drop me a line, join the mailing list if you want to hear more about what I'm doing. Drop me some bucks on Patreon if you want. Or just buy my stuff. That'll work too. All right, have a good one.